Hi there. Welcome to the Safe Kids Now show. This is Stephanie Mann, and I am so excited to welcome today Deborah Hunt. And Deborah is from Glendale, Arizona, and she hosts her own TV show and Zoom show called Stop Child Abuse Now. And she grew up in Fontana, California, with mental and emotional trauma. Well, did you know this is National Domestic Violence Prevention Month? Well, not only, and this is where a lot of violence starts. It starts in the home and then it grows. But Deborah experienced a lifelong or a home life filled with ridicule, hatefulness, belittling, and deafening silence with extreme physical and mental abuse. This is a subject that we really need to talk about. I don't think most people realize that we spend as taxpayers $220 million a day on child abuse and neglect. That doesn't even take into consideration how much it costs us for national domestic violence problems in this country. We have a lot of work to do, and I am so thrilled to open. I'm going to introduce you and open up to listen to what Deborah Hunt has to say. And Deborah, thank you so much for joining us because this is such a critical topic. And let me start with how did you get started with, this happens in the family. I know that. And what was your experience in your particular family and, growing up in Arizona?
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm so grateful to be on and be able to share my story and hopefully help others. My story started in my home with my mother, actually. My father did work a lot, and my mother was a stay-at-home mother. Um, she, for some reason, did not like me. I still, to this day, have no idea why. But it
Wow.
was clear from a very young age. Um, I had to be perfect to everybody else. And if I was not, I was punished. I was locked in my room from the outside in. She would lock the door, and the only way I could come out was for dinner or to go to school. That was it.
Mm. Wow.
And that was as a younger child. So I found a love of reading and writing, and that's, I guess, a blessing now. But back then, I had nobody to talk to, nobody to even say anything to. I did act out though.
What age did this start with your mother? When did you first
It
notice it?
started I was in first grade when it first started. When it got worse was I was in about fourth grade, and something happened with my mother, and everything was out of usual. Like, we were told something happened, my mother was not home, and she said my older brother, me, and my younger brother, myself, and my older sister, in order of our ages, on a couch. My grandmother did. My grandmother never came in our house, but
Really?
ever allowed in our house. I never had visitors or guests in my home ever growing up.
Well, what did that have to do with? I mean, was she a hoarder? Was she?
So no, she just didn't like people, I guess.
Oh
Um,
my.
Something happened one day, and to this day, I do not know. The family will not give me a clear answer. But they brought her home, and I guess she had a mental issue,
Mm,
and she
sure
walked in,
did.
and my grandfather sat us down and said, "You need to be very good. Your mother's going to be sleeping tonight." They made sure we had dinner, and they left. As soon as they left, my mother came out and attacked me. She said, "You're just like your Aunt Gretchen." And she hated my Aunt Gretchen. She made it very clear her disdain towards my aunt, which I never stopped hearing because I looked exactly like her.
Oh.
So my mother came out and she told me, "You're going to kill me. You're going to kill me, or I'm going to kill you." And she went back to bed and fell asleep. So that,
At what age did she say that to you?
I'm sorry,
At what age? How old were you?
I was 9. This was at 9 years old.
My goodness.
And so at 9 years old, that night I stayed in my room contemplating what I could do, because in my mind as a child, I really thought maybe I am going to kill my mom. I really thought that. Because
Mm,
young minds, you have no logical reasoning to figure out, could I really do this?
yeah.
So my reasoning was, I remember crawling on my hands and knees to get to the bedroom, because I did have to crawl on my hands and knees a lot to get under the alarm to get food out of the cupboard while she was sleeping for my brother and sister. Um, I got my purse that she had confiscated from me, and I packed it full of whatever I could, snuck out the front door as quietly as possible, got on my banana seat bike, and I ran away. I had no clue where I was going. I just knew that I needed to be away, and I did not want to kill my mother. I wasn't running away for any other reason, just to get away from my mother. I did not want to kill her. That's a
Mm.
goal.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Do you have any idea about how your mother was raised? Because a lot of times this is intergenerational. And I
Yes, my
was wondering
mother.
if she had the same kind of situation you had growing up.
Yes and no. I don't believe that my grandmother was just kind of like, go away, stop it, knock it off, or, you just get a normal punishment. She was always proud and bragging about her children, and that's something that my mother never did. But my mother did say several times that, I'm just going to do better than my mother did.
Oh,
Said that a lot.
that tells
Sure.
the story right there when she said
Yeah,
that. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
it sure does.
Well, now, what happened as a result of, yeah, this, I think all of us need to know that when children are abused at home, then they become more vulnerable. They become vulnerable to abuse elsewhere. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that in your experience.
Yes. Well, the my punishment was I was locked in the room for 6 months.
Oh,
6 months.
and you couldn't come
Only
out at all?
I had to use a trash can as a toilet, and I had to clean that once a day.
Hmm.
That's it. Only to go to school. When I came home from school, you sit down at the table, you do your homework, and then you're back in the room. That is,
Mm.
it literally lasted for 6 months.
And how old were you at that point?
I was 9 years old at that point.
That's fourth grade,
For
right?
running away.
Okay.
That was my punishment for running away.
Did you say anything to anybody
No,
about what was happening at home?
no, everybody from the outside in, they thought, oh, what a perfect family. I was getting good grades. My sister gets good grades. They call on me to do to be the narrator for all their projects at school. And, everybody thought I was normal. As I got older, as an adult, when I talked to people, they said, we knew something was wrong. We knew something was wrong because we never saw you outside playing or doing anything like that. And if I was, it was for a very brief amount of time.
Wow.
Do you know later on I did find out that my mother was an alcoholic that I did not know about.
Oh, okay.
No.
Were your sister and brother treated the same way?
My sister and my mother had issues. My brother, not so much. I mean, they had issues, but he was pretty much untouched by all of that. He's even said, he goes, I have no idea what you and Susan are talking about. I don't remember any of this. And we're kind of like glad he doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't. Because to talk to him, and I'm sure he'll remember this, while I was locked in the room for 6 months, to talk to my little brother or have any interaction, I carved a hole about this big through my closet wall so I could push something up against it so my mom couldn't find it. And I drilled it through his closet wall. So we would talk, and we get coat hangers and try to hand each other stuff through the walls, or just talk and play games. So
And he remembers that, right?
he remembers that.
And he didn't say anything about that to his
No, he
parents?
doesn't. But he is very reclusive. He just goes to work and he comes home and he sits in his apartment and really has a lot of anxiety and doesn't go out either. So
Very interesting.
yes,
You
all
know,
three of
family
us.
dynamics can be so critical in a child's life. And I'm sorry that you had this experience, but I'm glad that you also are able to share with other people what happened to you. So how were the relationships you had with other people, your friends, as you got to be a teenager? How did that work?
Um, Going through my teenage years, I try to be friends with people. I'm a very friendly, very personable person, but I never quite fit in. I never quite fit into um, to their social groups or what have you because they did social things and I couldn't do social things.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to. It was go to school, I was allowed to do drill team, dance team, choir, but go to that and get home. Do that and get home. That that was it. There was no social interaction afterwards. They're going out for pizza. No, I'm going home and I have to go study. I'm going to go home and have to do the laundry. I still have issues about doing laundry to this day because I've had to do so much laundry.
I don't blame you. I can see where that would happen. But, this is a very interesting and critical topic at this time. But let us take a minute to have a little ad here that we have it on our show. So we'll take a minute and we'll come right back to hear more from Deborah Hunt and her experience as an abused child. So we'll be right back.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. You're back to the pillow throw and tuck. Rococo Design.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio. You're listening.
Okay, we're back, and we're talking with Deborah Hunt, and she was a victim of child abuse and then also victimized as a domestic violence victim. So we want to talk to her today about what we can do, but tell us first a little about your experience. And I understand you had a very traumatic experience as a rape victim.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, would you please? Thanks, Deborah.
Well, yes. Well, this was one of the times when I wanted to be part of that social group that I was not allowed to be a part of. So at this age, I'm 16, and I sneak out my bedroom window to go to a party with my friends that, I was in dance team and stuff with. But they were just acting weird. So I decided that these guys said, well, we'll give you a ride home. The guy had a heart problem just like I did. But he had open heart surgery. So I, started talking with him. Don't worry, we'll get you home safe. One was an older male. He had to be close to 30. And then there was Michael, and there was another gentleman. And not a gentleman, younger guy. So they said, well, we're going to stop by his house real quick. Well, real quick, it turned into a gang rape.
Oh my goodness.
They anything you could think of, it was very horrible. I don't want to go into detail, but
No. How old were you at this time?
I was 16 at this
Yeah.
time. I was 16.
Did you have any clue at all that this was not a safe car to get into? Did any?
No, I didn't. Just because I knew that he was a friend of my good friends.
Yeah.
So, I just said, okay, well, at least he's not doing what these other people are doing, because they were doing drugs and drinking, and I was at that point in my life, I wasn't doing that. Because I was innocent. I was so naive to everything at that point that it was ridiculous. At that point, I had to walk home. It was a very dramatic scene, but when I got home, I climbed back in the window. My mother opened the door and she saw, and she just looked at me and said, clean up and basically don't tell anybody.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing. And these are just a couple of examples of what my mother did. One time I did go to the police. I went to the school and I did go to the police. And my mother told the police that I was lying, and the police believed her and sent me off to live with my aunt for a bit of time.
Why in the world would she say you were lying when, I mean, you had an impossible situation?
Yeah.
This is craziness, because obviously your mother was sick. Was she drinking at that time?
She had to have been. That to me, that is the only explanation it could be, other than a mental health issue.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a big mental health issue.
Yeah. To this day, she still is like that. I mean, she still is like, if I don't do what she expects me to do, I'm out of the family again. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, I have no problem with that.
Well, now you help young people to avoid these kind of situations.
Yes.
What does your wisdom tell you, or your advice be?
The wisdom is for me, and there's a lot of programs, and you could go to NASCA's website. I do host for NASCA, the National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. And we have so many resources now that we didn't have back when I was growing up. And it has expanded so much. You can use the internet. For a child, though, I want the children to be able to reach out to a safe person or safe. There are teachers and counselors at most schools now that will be able to help them in a healthy way and have them feel safe, instead of just reaching out to drugs or alcohol, or just the buddies on the corner because they feel better with them. There's so much more that can happen, and I believe that there should be more teaching in schools.
Yeah.
I think that they should be talking from kindergarten, age appropriate manner, not only for domestic violence but for sexual violence as well. I believe that should be happening a lot more. Well,
are you concerned, since we have the COVID restrictions now, and children are staying home a lot more, and we have a huge problem with child abuse? Is this one of your concerns? It certainly is mine.
Yes, greatly. It is. It literally terrifies me when I think about it, because being locked in confined in that house.
Yeah.
What made me, that was my torture. That was horrible for me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out. And that was just because of my mother's own doing. But now it's forced upon them by the government, and there's nothing they can do. There's no one that they can reach out to if they're being abused. And not only that, but the abuse will increase. We will see the numbers eventually, and we will see a big increase on that in itself.
Well, one of the things that has increased is youthful suicide.
Yes.
Do you think that has something to do with the abuse that kids may be suffering at home?
Yes, and that definitely has something to do with the abuse, because you have to realize that, number one, they're suffering. They were already suffering before they were, had to be locked in at home for the most part. It didn't start overnight. If they were being abused during COVID, they were more than likely being abused prior to COVID.
Right.
That being locked in that place is going to increase, and it's going to increase that loneliness. because they can't even go out and speak with somebody or talk to somebody just to relieve it, even if they're not expressing their story, but to even just to get a release, just to get out of the house, just to be around people and not worry about what's coming around the corner at home.
You know, we had a gentleman on our show earlier, and his name was Christopher Huff, and he was an FBI agent, and he was working on sexual problems with youth. You know, he was investigating those kind of crimes. And he said, and here's one of the problems with kids staying home all the time, is the computer is such a magnet for predators. And he said, you can't, a child, wherever a child is, like gaming or talking to their friends, there are predators. And he said, I don't even let my children on the computer anymore because it's such a dangerous place. We used to worry about the stranger in the park. Now he's in your home.
Yes.
And a lot of parents are not paying attention, especially if a child is abused. They're looking for friendship. And so are older people. I mean, this is a huge problem, locking people in their homes and making them stay there. Any advice for young people today? What do you think?
There is, I think what I would like them to do is there's a lot of, most of these are teens, but they're also younger because there are a lot of younger children using computers too. Now, being abused, their parents might not always put those locks and restrictions that need to be on their computers at that young of an age because there's too much out there.
Right.
But always the suicide prevention line, the National Suicide Prevention Line. I do not have it on me at the moment, but they can reach out through email, text, anything. They can reach out through there just to speak to somebody, and just so they can have somebody to speak to. They don't have to be reported. They can be anonymous, but just to have somebody speak to that. And I think that more people getting that out there, call the suicide hotline. Make sure teenagers know that if you see somebody who's struggling, even if you just see it in their face for just one moment, because I'm sure you do it as well as I do. You could just see that look in that person's face, knowing that they'll just give you that look like they need help.
Absolutely.
To them, and don't be afraid. Just say, hey, you know what? I have this card or I have this number. If you need anything, this isn't my number. You know, don't make it freaky or anything, but reach out to them and say, here's this number. And if you need to talk to somebody about anything, it doesn't even have to be about suicide. Anything, give them a call.
What is that number?
I can grab that for you on the next break real quick. And I'll put that out there.
All right. Well, why don't you look for it right now? Let me just say, I'm trying to remember the number myself, but there is a hotline for young people. And let's cut away for a moment, and I'll let you find that number. So let's take another break, and we'll be right back with more information from Deborah Hunt.
Hello, this is Najesti from Butter Me Essentials Natural Hair and Body Company. We are located in Brooklyn, New York. We are a family-owned company, which is run by my husband, Vaden, and I. Do you have hair that is hard to manage? Having trouble with hair growth? Is your skin always dry? No problem. Butter Me Essentials is here with the solution. We specialize in hair butters, pomades, hair elixirs, shampoos, conditioners, luxury soaps, body butters, lotion bars, perfumes, scrubs, and so much more. All of our products is made with natural and organic ingredients such as shea butter, cocoa butter, mango butter, Jamaican black castor oil, avocado oil, Oregon oil, and essential oils. There is no sulfates, petroleum, mineral oils, or parabens, just all natural goodness. If you would like to order our products, check out our website at buttermeessentials.com, buttermeessentials.com, or call 646 646-524-3351. 646-524-3351. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, like our motto says, you deserve to be buttered.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.
Okay, we're back, and we are speaking with Deborah Hunt, and Deborah is works with the organization called Stop Child Abuse Now. And do you happen to have a number that will be helpful to our listeners?
Yes, for the National Suicide Hotline. That is 800-273-8255.
Okay, and we'll ask Shavana to put that up so that people that need support or need help can use that number. There's also a Child Help National Helpline, and that one is 1-800-422-4453. And we want to encourage both Deborah and I want to encourage people that are having and need problems, child abuse problems. This is domestic hotline, or just you need somebody to talk to.
Yes.
Give those numbers a call, and they're very receptive, trained people that will be happy to talk to you, and you can share what you're feeling at this point, because this is, I think, one of the things. I worked with the homeless for many years, 4.5 actually, and but we started support groups, and we found out that people really need to talk. And when you're isolated, and when you don't have your friends to talk to, you don't have any, and you just have your family, and there's abuse going on in the family, you need to talk to someone. So there are people out there that will be helpful to you. Now, tell us a little bit about where you are today, and in your life. What's going on in your life today, Deborah?
You know what? I will say that since moving to Arizona, after I did get divorced after a 23-year marriage, and I will say that there was a lot of issues because of trust. That
Right.
from both sides, trust me. I have, again, when you grow up with childhood abuse, you have huge trust issues that change into multitudes of different things. But talking to people and working with people that are likely, like you said, talking to people greatly helps. Today, working with NASCA is my pride and joy. I am thrilled to be able to reach people, not just nationally, but worldwide. Being able to talk to people in Nigeria and Uganda and New Zealand who reach out and say they feel the same way that I feel. And I'm able to help them and walk them through and say, it's okay to feel this way. It really is okay to feel this way. Men are affected just as much as women in any type of violence, any type of situation like that. And so I really want men to actually hear that if they have that issue, that they can reach out to it. But as for me, working with NASCA is, it's not just something that I want to do. It's something kind of that you need to do. It's something that I have to do, because I feel that I don't want anybody to feel the way I did growing up. And so, and speaking as much as I do is actually a blessing for me. It truly is.
Well, I really appreciate your mentioning the fact that you had all these problems, and you're sharing your experience and what you've learned and how you've come through it. And it does mess up your life. So one of the things that I did because I worked with the homeless for years, is I wrote Empowerment Parenting, How to Raise Resilient Children Who Become Happy, Self-Reliant Adults. And that was a result of working with homeless people for 4.5 years and listening to what they never learned as children. And it's very simple stuff. It's things that all of us think our kids are learning, like how to handle your anger and how to have healthy relationships and how to be spiritually centered yourself so that you don't become a victim. All of these things are so important. And those are some of the things that your hotline will share with you. And let me just give you that number again. The National Suicide, this is a different number, but this is the National Suicide Hotline, which is 800-273-8255. And that has been put up on our board so that anybody that is feeling, well, you feel down and out, you're worthless. You felt that way, didn't you, Deborah, at points?
Oh, yes. I had several suicide attempts. Yes.
Well, at what age did you feel like you wanted to check out?
The first time it was right after my rape. I'll be honest with you. It was 16. I ended up leaving home when I was 17 for good. I never went back. I started working and never went back.
Well, any of you that are listening to what we have to say today, understand that these emotions are real. They can threaten a child's life. And the family, if you see somebody in your family, maybe it's your aunt, your uncle that's abusing children, take them aside and talk to them. We need to connect more as extended families. And if an extended family isn't supportive, then you've got to find some friends that are supportive. And one of those may be the hotline, the phone numbers that we have available to you. So I want to thank you so much. Any final words that you'd like to say, Deborah, about, what you've shared today?
Well, unfortunately, I'm actually glad I can be on during this month, because obviously it is a passion of mine, and I'm sure of yours. But if you see something, absolutely say something. If as an adult or if you see as a child in a situation that you feel that way, that you feel that they might be harmed, see something, say something. You can always call anonymously. You can always call a tip line. You can find those tip lines and a lot of other resources at NAASCA.org. We have so many resources that you can reach out to, but it's important because that little child might not have a voice. And that's why I'm using my voice so people can understand that children need a voice for them sometimes.
Well, tell us, what is NAASCA? I know it's an acronym, but what is that?
Yes.
What is it for?
NAASCA is the National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. And we have a show Monday through Friday. And that is, we relate to domestic violence, sexual violence, child abuse, adult abuse. Any type of domestic violence whatsoever, we have shows regarding anything. We have professionals on there twice a week for just an open question and answer show. But we're out there to teach people, to educate people that it is real and it's okay to talk about it and to actually give them the resources and the voice that they need to have in order to maybe get some help.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Deborah. And it's been a delight to talk to you. I'm glad things are going so good for you now. Congratulations. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach you at NAASCA.
Yes. They can reach me at Deborah Hunt.
Okay.
.myvoice@gmail.com.
Great. Okay. You can reach Deborah herself. So thank you all for being with us, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. And next week, we have another wonderful guest with us. And that's going to be Adia Lancaster. And Adia is an expert, international expert on child sex trafficking. So we look forward to having you join us next week and Wednesday at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock Pacific. 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. So thank you for joining us.